Together with me today is Sanjay Jampso from Bhutan, and we're going to be talking about the results of Mr. Jampso's distance education project in Bhutan, sponsored by the IDRC, International Development Research Centre, since 2004. I'm sorry, was it 2003 that the project began, Sanjay?
That's correct, John.
Since then, largely due to your work and that of your colleagues at the college, distance education has become a very active program in Bhutan, has it not? Would you like to start by talking about the particular importance and need for distance education in Bhutan?
Thank you. The Distance Education Project is a distance program for upgrading teachers, particularly primary school teachers in Bhutan. The main goal of this project was to introduce the use of ICT for student support in our distance program. As you might know, Bhutan is a very small country which is all mountainous, so we have a very rugged geographical terrain where communication is very difficult, even in terms of transportation, prone to landslides in summer and ice on the road in winter, so communication has been a very difficult thing. And with regard to our distance program, it's always been very difficult for us to stay in touch with our students who are spread all across the country. And we saw the use of ICT as a potential means of keeping in touch with students and providing them with support wherever they required. So that is what the project was about.
The university has learning centres and campuses all over Bhutan, doesn't it?
The university has actually 10 colleges spread all across the kingdom. But in our distance program, for which we are actually trying to introduce ICT, the students are teachers who are located in different schools all across the country.
The distance education program has begun, if I'm correct, it's begun in the context of teacher education. What were the earliest steps that you took to help provide teacher training at a distance?
Distance education in Bhutan actually began with distance training of teachers. We started it in 1995. There was a need to really update and upgrade teachers because earlier the teachers had an academic qualification of high school graduation, after which they would be trained for 2 years to teach in primary schools. So there was a strong need to upgrade the knowledge of teachers as well as train them in new and innovative ideas in teaching learning methodologies. So that's how the distance program began. But one of the reasons why we chose a distance learning approach was because Bhutan faces a serious shortage of teachers. A lot of our teachers are expatriates from India, and we could not afford to remove these teachers from schools to come and attend full-time programs. So distance learning presented itself as a very appropriate alternative that we could use because the teachers could continue to teach as well as learn at the same time. And also it became very convenient because they could try out new ideas in their classrooms as and when they learned through this program.
So the program has investigated a lot of different technologies and has found that there is a growing recognition of their role in learning. Would you say that teachers are embracing these projects rapidly?
I think even though there is a lot of enthusiasm shown by our students in using online technology particularly and other forms of ICT in supporting their learning, access has been a major issue for us. For instance, in the project, one of our major components was using Moodle, which is an open source learning management system. We tried to use that, and although teachers find it very helpful because they could download a number of additional resources and also communicate with the instructors online without having to come to the college, there seem to be some problems in terms of access, and also where there are access, we try to address that by providing them regional study centers closer to their schools where they could go in and access internet. However, we have had problems with the speed of internet connectivity, which actually makes it very difficult for them. And some of them have to spend hours or maybe even a day to come to the regional study center. So access has been a problem, but having said that, a good number of students who have fairly good access, it has been very, very useful. apart from the learning management system that we use, we see that now most students want to send their assignments by email because it's so much faster, and also they don't have to spend so much on using paper or sending it by usual postal mail, which would take 2 weeks one way.
These delays and the problems of communication were shown very well by the needs assessment that you did. You analysed the study centre management system user logs, student examination records, questionnaires to many teachers and students to find their reactions to the pilot program. What were their main responses?
I think one of the major reactions was to do with access and speed, internet connectivity. All of them said it's very useful that they could actually use the online technology to communicate with instructors. But on the other hand, most of them did have difficulties in trying to connect. So that's been one of the major difficulties.
So among the other measures that you took following the needs assessment study was the development of regional study centres. To what extent did this distance education study influence the development of the centres and their computer records systems?
Prior to the establishment of our study centers, they did not really have internet connectivity in these centers. And with the beginning of the project, we established 7 regional study centers across the country. And in the process, on demand from students, we also were able to establish 2 additional study centers. And we also tried to collaborate with the Ministry of Education and try and get the resource centers that were already established to function more like study centers for the distance program as well.
The IDRC's project in Bhutan has in fact been very influential, hasn't it? Not only have you created online methods and new record systems, you've also developed new facilities and made a complete change to the study environment for students in distant parts of the country.
Yes, you're correct. This project has actually made a number of contributions, as I see it, because online technology has never been used before in Bhutan. The use of computers has been very little, especially at the primary school level. Teachers are not really exposed to computers. And what we've been able to do through this project is to introduce a number of teachers to computers. And so they had the opportunity to learn, and we hope that this would have a similar effect on their students, who is going to be increasingly facing a world full of computers and online technology.
The final aspect of the project is policy recommendations, not only for the university but also possibly for the government of Bhutan. What have been the major recommendations?
Number one is that there is a need to improve on the infrastructure and also the technical support. And this, I think, the university alone may not be able to achieve. So it becomes very important for us to collaborate with, for instance, the Ministry of Communication and ISP owners, so that we can actually provide our students and colleges required technical support and infrastructure, which is quite poor at this point in our country. One of the things that we found out was, even though we had the resources at our disposal, it's quite something to really be able to change the mindset of people. So we actually would recommend a gradual but nevertheless a vigorous process whereby we introduce both the students as well as the faculty to ICT. That has been something which has been lacking in our system thus far. And also, in order to achieve all these, it becomes very important for the government to have very strong policies and strategies to develop this over a number of years. I think this is something that cannot possibly be achieved in a year or two. Nevertheless, I think having a set of policies and clear plans as to how to go about it becomes very important. There is a trend in Bhutan, particularly within education and maybe to some degree in health, where distance learning has a potential way of upgrading and updating people in their work. For Bhutan, we have a very small human resource pool. Distance learning is one of the ways to make education accessible to as many as possible.
Thank you very much, Sanjay, for talking about the project. You've talked about the practical and policy results of the project in the Kingdom of Bhutan. I'd like to congratulate you and also Mark Bullen in Canada, who you've been working with, and all your colleagues in Bhutan for this very fine and important project. Thank you very much for talking today.